Hello, hello, hello. This is Captain Panic speaking, and I'm back with another tutorial. So, it's been a while since I recorded the last one, and that's because I was moving pretty spontaneously and I had a lot of stuff going on, and I didn't feel like recording a tutorial in that time. So, that's enough about that, and in the background you can already see which thing I will explain today. So I already released a product file for this, but since I got some questions and whether I will record a tutorial for it, because that would be great. So yeah, I decided to record it. So this thing I built works pretty good with images too, but also typography, and I also built in a switch, like when you hit the mouse, the text changes, or the image input changes. You can see it here, which is pretty interesting for other things too. And then I made some kind of time displacement based on a ramp and a noise. So you have this irregular kind of pattern happening, and it's in the base it's a slit scan setup, but not a linear one. So for example, if we get rid of the noise, we only have this lines, and we could change the ramp type to change the transitions. Right now it's not good visible, it's because of the blur. So you have different options, and you can change things pretty fast within this setup, which I will explain now. So in my tutorial I will only go into the typography thing, but it's pretty much the same. So instead of text, you just use images when you want to do it with images. So yeah, that's about that. So let's get started. I already set up my my product file, and now let's get started. So first of all, we need some text which we wanna have displayed. So in this case I'm using the text provided by Touchdesigner. You could also load in your own custom PNGs or images, or I think also PDFs of text, which I usually prefer because Touchdesigner is a little bit messy in terms of layout, and since I have a graphic design background, and yeah, I prefer stuff like InDesign or Illustrator to set up my typography, but for now this will work. So let's change this to Arial. Type your text, so let's type life, and since we want to have that change between the different words, we copy that, change the text. Let's make it, life is great. So I will work with 3 text layers, which we will use to change. So now let's take all of these, take the first one, insert a switch, could take those 2 and bring them in the switch. So right now we have this thing where we can control the switch by dragging it, but we want it to happen on the mouse click. So every time I click or hit any button on my keyboard or stuff like that, every time that happens, we want to change the word. So to do so, and if we want to use the mouse, I'm using a mouse in, and then I'm connecting that to a null, just because we will use this to export later. So we can insert stuff like filters if we want the transition to be smoother or stuff like that. So let's bring in a count, and where is it? There it is. As you can see, the count counts. And right now we only have our TX and our TY, which stands for the transform of the mouse and our mouse position. But to bring in the click, we need to set up a channel for the click. So in this case, it's the left button and the mouse in. So just hit something here you wanna, let's call it left click. So now we brought in the left click, and now you can see every time, oops, I'm hitting it. If I hit it, if I double hit too fast, as you can see, we bring up our operator thing. But you can see it counts. So right now, when we export the left click onto our switch, our index of the switch, chop the reference, and you can see nothing happens because we are at number 20 and we only have 3 inputs. So everything is happening from null to 2, I think. And if we go farther than that, nothing will happen. So we need to set this count that it resets when we reach the 2. So to do so, we go into the parameter tab and to the count. And then we want to limit that because the 2 is the maximum we want to reach. So to do so, we will use the loop min and max, because this causes whenever we reach our maximum, it resets to null. And that's exactly what we need, because we want to go back, just like a loop. So set your limit maximum to 2. And the rest we will keep on default. So now let's have a look, because I feel like there is something wrong. Let's hit the pulse one time. Okay, now it works. So if you have a uneven number, just hit the pulse one time, then it resets automatically in case you have some kind of glitch happening, just like I had. And now I'm using the left click on the index, chop the reference, and let's connect this to our background. And now you can see we switch in our typography. Don't hit too fast because you will open up the OP create dialog. So now I saw that I forgot to use my resolution, so I will do that really quick. So I'm selecting all of those. I'll copy my parameter here, and then I will paste the reference on here. So now you can see our typography is really, really small, and we want to bring that up again. So an easy way to make the typography as big as the screen or as your resolution is to use the autofit always, and it makes it really big, but I don't like that. So I do no outfit and just use a bigger font size. Maybe 400 is nice. Yeah, I think that's good. So now we have our typography. Great. So now let's bring in another thing. As you saw in the beginning, the typography was following our mouse. So we need to bring in a transform And you might remember that from my first tutorial ever, where we used the mouse to control a displacement. And we will do nearly exactly the same thing, but this time we won't limit our canvas. So we just use another null from our mouse in, because we already brought our mouse in. So, but we connected it with the count, and right now we don't need it with a count, so I brought in another null. And now I will just use the X and the Y and export it and chop the reference on our typography. And now you can see, voila, we are following the mouse. Awesome. So now we will make the magic happen, which is the time displacement. So you might already know this effect, and you might know how you build it in After Effects or something like that. There's a pretty famous tutorial on YouTube. And it kind of works the same in Touchdesigner. It's just a slit scan. So, but it works a little bit different to set it up. So let's do that. And now the first thing we need to insert is the texture 3D thing. And it's a little bit confusing what it does, so I will just bring it in, and then you can see what it does. So it takes a sequence, and you get every frame from it. So, and you see it there, but I don't really know how it works. But I feel like this with a visual representation of it works pretty fine to get it. So we have that cache size, which defines how many frames we get from our sequence. So I tend to work with 128, and it will take some time to load. So don't panic when this thing started. It's just caching. So there we go, and now it works. So the higher the cache size is, the more frames and the more details you will get. So if you use a lower number, we will try it later, so you can see it. So, and now we want to bring in the displacement, the time displacement. So to bring in the time factor, we will use the time machine. And now I'm really confused what the time machine is, but we can control the time and the way the time works with a ramp, for example. So let's copy my ramp we have up here. Oops. And bring that in here. So we need that second input, and now you can see what happens. So we get some kind of offset happening where the black thing is, and where the white thing is, everything is kind of normal. So when we change that type, so just like this, time happens faster here and slower there. I think that might be an explanation, but I want to mention that I have no idea what I'm doing here. I just like the effect. I'm a visual thinker. So yeah, don't come at me for not knowing what I'm doing, please. Okay, so let's go on with our displacement. And when we hit right now, we get a kind of After Effects preset transition, which is kind of cool. So but we wanted to have more detail and more stuff happening here. So it's already kind of cool, but I really like the way it was sliced in my preview video. So just like you are looking through some ripped, or I don't know, classes or so. So to do so, we can bring down the period of the ramp. So right now I brought it to null, which is stupid. So now you can see what happens. The more slices we get here, the more slices the typography will have, which is pretty cool. So and it's still, we have this thing happening. I will change my ramp type to horizontal because I like that a lot better than the other one, but this is up to you, whatever you want to go with. And I will bring down the period even more, maybe to something like 9.995. So we really have this sliced thing happening. And now I want to bring in something else. So I want that noise to be animated, and I want it to be even smaller. I really like those sliced stuff. So, and another thing I really like is seeing what I'm doing. So I will bring in a transform in the end and set up a background color. So just so I can see better what's happening. The checkerboard in the background always confuses me. So now you can see we are pretty near to our final product, and if this is the way you want to go, you're already finished. So yeah, well, but I have some more stuff which is pretty interesting for this technique to bring in. So right now it's very regular and very clean, which is very nice. So if we use the circular one, we get some kind of I don't know, I saw a movie once where the opening credits looked like that, and I really like that style, and now I made that style by myself. I'm really happy about that. I think it was some movie by Gaspar Noé, which I liked a lot, but different theme. So let's try to animate our noise, our ramp, I'm sorry, and see what happens then. So I'm bringing in my apps time.seconds, which I always have in my startup file, as you might know. So, and I will export it onto the face. So we get more movement, which is a little bit glitchy. So that works better with some kind of ramp types and worse with others. So I think the vertical one is a little bit too nervous, but with the circular one and the radial one, it's really nice. But it's up to you if you use it or prefer to not use it. So in my case, I want to go with the horizontal one, and I don't like it to be animated yet, but I want to keep the animation, so this might be useful. So whenever you inserted a reference and you don't want to delete it, so you just want to stop it, you just hit the constant thing here, which is a number which doesn't change. And when you exported a expression, just like we did with our apps time, it will be this blue square. So when you hit it, it's activated again. So this might save some time from time to time. So I will go with the constant right now. Okay, so let's move on. And you might remember in the beginning, I didn't have this clean line happening. I had this thing which was kind of organic and moving around. So I did that by combining my ramp with a noise. So I copy my noise from up here, bring it down here, and then I brought in a composite in here, brought in the noise too, and then I set the operation mode to overlay. And also the noise is over the ramp. And now you can already see we have this irregular stuff happening, which is awesome. I really like that. It gives us a kind of mystical feeling. I really like it when typography turns kind of abstract. So, cool. Now we could go into that noise, and you can make some changes to the settings, whatever look you want to create. So for example, if we bring down the exponent, we have really weird stuff going on. So I want to say don't do that, but if you want to do it, do it. Yeah, well, okay, so basically that's the effect. And another interesting thing to do here is to animate the noise. And usually I go with animating the Z axis, but sometimes I wanna have it moving like a flow. So I just animate the X or the Y or whatever you like, because I really like those transitions of the typography when they are happening just like a flow, just like we are happening here. So, okay. And basically, that's the effect we went for in this tutorial, and the basic setup tutorial is finished now. And since it's really fun, I will show some stuff to expand that network, which I found pretty interesting. So the first thing I really liked is giving this simple and clean 2D setup a little bit of a 3D-ish feeling, which could be trashy, but I enjoyed a lot. So after that time machine setup, I brought in a null, and then I used a feedback, and then I used a transform, or let's close our feedback loop for now. Set the operation mode to over, connect that, and now you can see we are painting with that, which is cool. And now we want it to disappear, so bring in a level, set down the opacity a little bit, maybe like that. And of course we want to remove or reset our feedback from time to time, so bring in a keyboard in and export it onto the pulse. So whenever you hit 1, we reset it again. So this is kind of cool, but not really. So I will bring down the opacity even more, so it disappears a little bit faster. And I kind of want to bring in a 3D-ish feeling, as I said. And to do so, I will bring in some depth. I can't pronounce that word, but I will shamelessly continue to do so. So let's bring in the transform, and let's bring in a transform on the y-axis, just like this. So it's falling down, and now we get those 3D-ish feeling, but it could be even heavier by bringing in more shadows. And we will bring in more shadows by increasing the black level in the feedback a little bit, so we get darker faster. So we could also set down the brightness a little bit, and then yeah, I kind of like this. Let's bring it down even more. Up, I'm sorry. Just like maybe 1.5 is a great number. So yeah, that's good. That offers a little bit of a better readability. Yeah, I enjoy this, and this is one way to expand that thing we just built. but there's also another way. So if you want to change from those different outcomes, you can bring in a switch in the end and connect that first null to it, and whenever you want to turn it off, you just turn it off. You could also export a mouse click or stuff like that to change between those things, which could be pretty cool since you all know how to do it now. So okay. So another thing, which is if you're using typography, it's great to move it around with your mouse, but whenever you have some kind of image input, it might be not the best idea because you get weird corners or mirrored corners or stuff like that. So there's another way to work with this kind of stuff. So let's bring in a movie file in, so we could see what I mean. So right now I'm turning off my switch and I'm just doing the stuff with the banana, which is cool. But when I move it up here, there's no banana anymore. Or maybe the banana is not the best example because it's a transparent thing and we don't get any weird edges from it. So let's bring in see what we have here. Let's use this sky. So now you can see what I mean. So we have our image and it's great, but when we move it up, we get those edges which we don't like, and we could use a repeat or anything like that, but you can see we get a weird edge here. When we mirror it, it's okay with this one, but it's also a weird pattern thing happening. So we don't want that, but we still like the effect, and we want it to happen on it. So actually, I'm going to bring in the switch again. So let's use this, and also let's use the jelly beans, and I will use those 3 things connected. Let's disconnect these for now. And let's connect those to our switch. Let's bring in that. Might cache a while, and then we hit here. So yeah, we're getting into some trouble with the cache here because it needs to cache for a while. So actually, I don't use the switch. I'm sorry about that weird thing. So okay, so how could we move that thing without using the transform? So let's turn the transform off for now, and let's bring in a displace. So use the displace, maybe use that noise again, and displace it by that noise. And now you can already see we have the movement we like, and now we bring down the displace weight a little bit to something really low. Maybe this is cool. So this gives us a kind of nice effect, and we have the effect we just built with the time displacement on a video. And if you let the switch with those video inputs cache a little bit, it will work smoothly. So yeah, you could make some changes to that noise. So for example, if you bring down the exponent here, you just have the displacement happening on the black spaces. So for example, if we increase this, yeah, you know what I mean. So just make changes to the noise, and that works better on the image input. So this is a way to do so. Also you can change the ramp types or whatever you like. So now I reached the end. and I showed some stuff to expand the basic network, and I hope you were able to follow me, and I hope you liked that tutorial, and I hope you learned something. I hope you are doing good. I hope you're staying healthy, and I hope you know that you are worthy and loved. So, have a nice day. Never stop exploring, stay creative, and most important, stay kind, and goodbye.